Hello, EntrePods, and welcome to Season 3. This season, we are interviewing and talking about ethical entrepreneurs who are making money and changing our world. Join us as we discover how we can step into power as creators and business owners to reshape business into one that values humanity, our planet, and our shared future. You won't want to miss a single episode.
My listeners, my wonderful EntrePods, sometimes you're like, ooh, I don't want to have that conversation. It's going to freak my team out. Or I already know Bob or Susie or Karen are going to be ridiculous and they're going to stir up trouble. And I just want to avoid that. Let's just get through the sale. Let's just get through that. Everything will be fine and everybody will stay. But you have if you already are anticipating resistance or you feel like you can't do it because of this, there's a block, that is when you need to push through that and get those things done, because something inside is telling you, hey, you're not doing your due diligence. So you want to knock that off at the head of the pass before this happens, because then, the consequences are always going to be exponentially more. You're never just going to luckily skirt through it. I know that's easy to think, but don't. You've got to confront the issues or even let the negative people go, ahead of time before you decide to sell. Go through it, make sure that team's strong, make sure that the team's on board, they have agreements. And same with people with vendors. A lot of people will have these special vendors and vendors have agreements. Well, one thing about an agreement with a vendor that's giving you, you're buying from them. Well, they have these sorts of agreements, but you can also hold them to those agreements too.
One other thing that comes to mind, or two other things that come to mind. One, firstly, is if you've got a business partner, actually having an agreement in place about the rules and responsibilities of that relationship. I like to think of it almost as a disagreement. In other words, it's an agreement as to what's to happen if you're going to disagree. And that's really important from a sale perspective, because if you haven't agreed up front with your business owner what's going to happen on a sale, they could have a very different vision in mind for their business. So I always like to say, because when I talk to business owners, and Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, habit 2 is start with the end in mind. And that freaks a lot of the people that I work with out, because they go, well, I don't know what the end's going to be. Who knows where I'm going to be in 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So I like to say, start up with an end in mind. When I started my law firm a little over 10 years ago now, if you had told me that I'd be doing this, I would have laughed and said, as if I'm going to be doing this. But I had an idea about where I was going to go, and that changed over time, and that's okay.
And you really don't know the meat of people until it happens. So it's great to troubleshoot that. So in the US, we call it exit agreements. What do they call that in the UK?
In the UK, it's the same thing. They call them exit agreements. They can be called shareholder agreements if there's companies that they're given many different names. In the end, it's really what the substance of the agreement is that matters. And really it's that what happens at the end, and you can change it too. That's the beautiful thing about an agreement, right? Yeah. If you change your mind, like my law firm, we had an agreement when we started. As I've stepped away and I don't really do any of the legal work anymore, I have a couple of matters that I handle, but not really anything more than that. We have a new agreement. My business partner and I, he runs the firm, so he gets more than I do from that law firm, but I focus my time on other things. So having that come to mind is really, really important. And thinking about it every couple of years or when something substantial changes, I think is really, really important.
It's the chance of recovering to nothing, or recovering and picking and having the things in place so that you can pick back up and have a quality of life. So if it scares you to think about death, don't have to think about that. Let the lawyer think about that. And you just think about, what happened if I just fell asleep for 3 weeks and I get the best nap possible, but then I wake up and my ex-wife has taken the kids and she's moved them out of state and no one paid my mortgage or my rent. And now I have all this stuff. Like if you don't have a plan, if something happens, then what happens is it's 3 weeks and your wife or your husband, they might still be in the court system trying to get power of attorney. But if you already have that set and they've got the power of attorney, they can just seamlessly take over the things that they need to.